The voice of the real estate agent crackled through the phone, her excitement unmistakable. "Emma, I think I've found the one, your dream home. But we need to act quickly. There's already some interest." My grip on the phone tightened as my pulse quickened. After months of endless searching, visiting countless homes, and facing repeated letdowns, could this truly be the one? "When can you come take a look?" Sarah, my agent, asked. "I can leave work early today," I responded, already figuring out how to shift my schedule. The predictable hours of teaching high school chemistry had made house hunting possible. "Great. Meet me at 4 o'clock. Trust me, Emma, this place is something special." I ended the call and exhaled slowly, trying to calm the surge of excitement inside me. At 32, I had worked tirelessly to save up for a down payment, living frugally while my friends spent on vacations and designer brands. Teaching didn't make me wealthy, but with careful planning and persistence, homeownership was finally within reach. The house exceeded all my expectations. Tucked away at the end of a peaceful street, the craftsman-style home had charm without feeling dated. The original hardwood floors, built-in bookshelves, and a kitchen that made my heart flutter were all perfect. But it was the backyard that won me over, the perfect size for the garden I'd always envisioned, and a covered porch ideal for grading papers as I listened to the rainfall. "What do you think?" Sarah asked, though I'm sure my face already showed my answer. "It's perfect," I whispered, already picturing my life there. "What's the asking price?" When she gave me the number, a pang of worry hit me. It was at the top of my budget, but still within reach with the savings I'd accumulated and my pre-approved mortgage. I'd have to be extra cautious with spending for a while, but this house was worth the sacrifice. "I want to make an offer," I declared, determined. "Today." Sarah smiled brightly. "I had a feeling you'd say that. Let's get the paperwork started." Later that evening, I could barely hold back my excitement as I headed to my parents' house for our weekly dinner. I was eager to share the good news with them, hoping they would celebrate my success with me. Perhaps I was being naive. The moment I walked in, I sensed something was off. My sister Victoria was there, a rare sight on a Wednesday night, and the look in her eyes told me something was wrong. "Emma," my mom called from the kitchen. "You're just in time. Victoria has some exciting news." I forced a smile and hung my coat by the door. Victoria had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. While I chose teaching, she had ventured into finance, rapidly climbing the corporate ladder with ruthless ambition. Our parents' pride was always reserved for her six-figure salary and corner office. "What's the news?" I asked, though a sinking feeling in my stomach told me I wouldn't like the answer. Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "I'm buying a house. That beautiful craftsman on Maple Street, Mom and Dad are helping with the down payment. Isn't that just wonderful?" The room seemed to spin. The house she was talking about, my dream house, was the exact one I had just seen, the one I was ready to make an offer on. How could she have known about it? That's the house I was going to buy," I barely whispered. "I just saw it today." Victoria's smile didn't falter. "Oh, I know. I drove past while you were there. It's way too nice for a teacher's salary, don't you think? You should probably be looking at something a little more practical." "Victoria," my father interrupted, his voice carrying a tone of mild warning, though there was no real disapproval. He never truly disapproved of anything Victoria did. "What?" "I'm just being honest. Emma's a teacher. She doesn't need a house that big. I'll actually put it to good use. Hosting clients, holding events. It makes much more sense this way." I glanced at my parents, hoping for some sign that they understood how wrong this was. But my mother was beaming at Victoria, and my father was nodding proudly at his eldest daughter's business sense. "The money's already been transferred," Victoria added, twisting the knife further. "I'm submitting my offer tonight, and of course it'll be above asking price. No one will even come close." A wave of nausea hit me. All those years of saving, all those dreams, shattered in an instant because my sister decided she wanted what was mine, just like always. "I need some air," I muttered, turning toward the door. I could hear my mother's voice calling out something about dinner getting cold, but I couldn't stay there another second. Outside, the cool evening air did little to ease the storm of emotions inside me. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah, probably checking if I was ready to submit my offer, an offer that now felt utterly pointless. But as I stood there, something clicked in my mind, Something Sarah had mentioned earlier about the property listing. A detail that could change everything. I pulled out my phone and dialed Sarah's number. Emma, I was just about to call you. Are you ready to? Sarah, I interrupted, my voice steady despite my racing heart. That house, it's in a historic district, right? Yes, it's part of the Oak Park Historic District. Why? A smile spread across my face as I remembered a crucial detail she'd shared. And any changes to the exterior have to be approved by the Preservation Board, correct? That's right. Any modifications to the facade, landscaping, even paint colors need approval. It's pretty strict. Some buyers find it limiting, but since you weren't planning any big changes. No, I said, my smile widening. No changes at all. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Sarah, I have an idea. Victoria had always gotten what she wanted, taking whatever she pleased without thinking twice. But this time she might have gone too far. While I had spent hours researching the neighborhood, falling in love with its charm and history, I knew my sister hadn't done any of that. She never bothered with the details when she thought she held all the power. I walked back into the house, where my family was already seated at the dinner table. Victoria glanced up, her expression full of smug satisfaction. Feel better? She asked, her tone sweet but condescending. I know it must be disappointing, but you'll find something more appropriate. I sat down and scooped some mashed potatoes onto my plate. You know what? You're right, that house probably isn't for me after all. I hope you really enjoy it. Victoria's smile wavered for just a moment, clearly thrown off by my unexpected calm. She had been bracing for a confrontation, maybe even tears. Something she could use to paint me as emotional and unprofessional. But I simply smiled and asked my mother to pass the green beans. Let her think she had won. Let her go ahead and submit her offer, using up my parents' savings for the down payment. I knew something she didn't, something that would turn that house into her biggest regret. Because while my sister may have been skilled at taking what she wanted, I was better at playing the long game. And this game had only just begun. The next day, when Victoria's offer was accepted, she couldn't wait to brag. Her texts and calls came in nonstop, each one laced with faint sympathy. I know you're disappointed, Emma, but maybe this will inspire you to aim higher. Teaching is sweet, but you can't expect to have the same things I do. I let her talk, saving every single message. They would come in handy later. 2 weeks later, Victoria stormed into my classroom during my lunch break, her designer heels clicking sharply against the linoleum. Her face was red with frustration. Did you know? She demanded, slamming her hands down on my desk. About the historic district regulations. I looked up calmly from grading my tests. Of course. I always do thorough research on neighborhoods before considering a purchase. Don't you? Her eyes narrowed. They won't let me make any changes. No new windows, no expanded driveway for parking. Nothing. I can't even repaint it without going through months of approval. That's how historic districts work, I replied, casually marking another test. They protect the neighborhood's character. It's actually a pretty fascinating bit of history. The Preservation Board has been protecting these homes since. I don't care about the history. She cut me off, her voice rising. I had plans for that house. I was going to make it perfect for entertaining clients, modern, sleek, impressive. But now they're saying that any changes to the outside could take months to approve, if they approve them at all. I set my pen down and met her gaze. Sounds frustrating. Almost as frustrating as having someone take the house you were dreaming about just because they could. Victoria's face darkened, her fists clenching. You knew. You let me buy it, knowing I'd hate these restrictions. I didn't let you do anything, I said, meeting her glare. You took what you wanted, like you always do. I just didn't stop you. You have to help me fix this, she demanded, her tone now desperate. Talk to the Preservation Board, explain my plans. You're good at dealing with all those bureaucrats and committees. I couldn't help but laugh. Why would I help you? You took something I wanted, something I worked years to achieve, just because you could. Because you think teaching makes me less deserving. Well, now you get to live with the consequences. Mom and Dad will be furious if this doesn't work out. They invested so much money. Then maybe you should have done your homework before spending their money, I interrupted, instead of assuming you could just bulldoze through any problem. The Preservation Board doesn't care about your status or connections. They care about preserving these historic homes. Victoria's composure started to crack. This is petty, Emma, really petty. No, I replied quietly. Petty was taking a house you didn't even want just to prove you could. Petty was mocking my career and my dreams. This is justice. She stormed out, nearly knocking into a student who was coming into the room. I went back to grading tests, but I couldn't wipe the smile from my face. Over the next few weeks, Victoria's frustration grew. Every plan she had for the house hit a brick wall of rules and regulations. The preservation board shot down her proposal to replace the windows with modern ones, insisting on preserving the original wood frames. Her request to expand the driveway was denied because it would alter the historic streetscape. Even her attempt to paint the house a trendy gray was rejected. Only historically approved colors were allowed. Of course, my parents took her side. Emma, my mother pleaded at another tense family dinner. Can't you help your sister? She's invested so much money into this house. She knew what she was getting into, I said, scooping more salad onto my plate. Or she would have, if she'd actually done her research. This attitude isn't helping, my father added, clearly annoyed. Victoria was just trying to make a smart investment. No, I corrected him. She was trying to take something from me like she always has. And for once, it backfired. The breaking point came when the preservation board unanimously rejected her plans for a modern glass addition. She'd spent thousands on architects and renderings, convinced that her professional connections would sway the committee. Instead, they lectured her about respecting the integrity of the historic district. That evening, she showed up at my apartment without warning. Name your price, she said as soon as I opened the door. Excuse me? To buy the house. I know you want it. Name your price, and it's yours. I leaned against the doorframe, considering her offer. The original asking price. Not a penny more. That's ridiculous. I paid over asking, plus all the money I've spent on plans and applications. Those were your choices, I cut in. Poor ones, made without proper research. I'm offering you a way out at the original price. Take it or leave it. She glared at me, but I could see the defeat in her eyes. The house had become a prison for her, full of rules and restrictions, everything she despised. Her dreams of impressing clients with a modernized showpiece were impossible. And now, her perfect little sister was her only way out. Fine, she spat. But I want this done quickly and quietly. I don't want anyone to find out about it. I smiled. Of course not. We wouldn't want the great Victoria Palmer to admit she made a mistake, would we? The paperwork was finalized with a quiet efficiency, just as Victoria had requested. The sale price was exactly the same as my original budget, a detail that brought me immense satisfaction. My parents were furious, of course, but there wasn't much they could do. Victoria had made her choices, and now it was my turn to reap the rewards. Moving day felt surreal. As I carried boxes through the front door, my front door now, I couldn't help but smile at the rejected stamps still scattered across the kitchen counter, remnants of Victoria's failed renovation plans. She hadn't even bothered to clean them up. The house needed work, but not the kind Victoria had envisioned. Where she saw walls to tear down, I saw character worth preserving. Where she wanted modern fixtures, I saw vintage charm waiting to be restored. This house didn't need to be transformed, it needed to be cherished for what it already was. I spent that first weekend cleaning, painting in historically accurate colors, naturally, and making the space my own. The built-in bookshelves soon held my collection of science texts and classic novels. My grandmother's antique desk found its perfect place in the study. The kitchen, with its original cabinets that Victoria had planned to rip out, became my favorite place to grade papers and plan lessons. The garden took shape slowly. I joined the neighborhood gardening club and learned from longtime residents about which plants thrived in the area. The preservation board, far from being the roadblock Victoria had seen them as, became valuable allies. They offered advice on historically accurate landscaping and even connected me with craftsmen who specialized in restoring old homes. My parents' reactions were predictable. You're just doing this to spite your sister, my mother accused during one of her increasingly rare visits. No, I replied, serving her tea in my sunlit kitchen. I'm doing this because I love this house and everything it stands for. Victoria never did. The changes in my life weren't just physical. Something shifted within me during those first few months in the house. The constant urge to prove myself, to compete with Victoria's success, began to fade. I had built something for myself, something that reflected who I was, not who I was trying to impress. Even my students noticed the difference. "Miss Palmer, you seem happier," one commented after class one day. I was. The house became more than just a place to live, it became a sanctuary. I hosted study groups in the dining room, helping struggling students grasp difficult chemical concepts. The garden turned into an outdoor classroom where I could teach principles of biology and environmental science. Meanwhile, Victoria had moved into a sleek, modern condo in the city's financial district. It was everything she had wanted the historic house to become: glass, chrome, and sharp angles. Perfect for her image, perfect for her lifestyle. She never visited my house, never acknowledged that her attempt to overshadow me had backfired so spectacularly. One year after moving in, I hosted a garden party for the neighborhood association. The preservation board members who had so vehemently rejected Victoria's plans were now praising my careful stewardship of the property. The garden was lush and in full bloom. The house's original features gleamed, and every detail spoke to the respect I had for its history. As I stood on my porch, the same porch where Victoria had once planned to install modern steel railings, watching my neighbors enjoy the space, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was where I belonged, in a house that had tested both our characters and had proven mine to be the one that was truly deserving. My phone buzzed with a message from Victoria. "Mom says your little garden party is a hit. Hope you're enjoying playing house in that museum." I couldn't help but smile as I typed back, "I am." The house found its rightful owner, someone who appreciates it for what it is, not what it could have been forced to become. She didn't respond, but the silence said everything. We both knew the truth. The best kind of revenge isn't about retaliation. It's about being true to yourself and letting that be enough. Looking back, I understand now that Victoria's attempt to take my dream house wasn't about the house at all. It was about control, about keeping the hierarchy intact, where her choices, her career, and her version of success were superior to mine. But life has a way of restoring balance. The very regulations that frustrated her were the ones that protected my dream. Her desire to prove she was above me ended up being the key to my independence. And as for the house, it became exactly what it was meant to be, a home where history and the future could coexist in harmony, just like its owner. Victoria still shows up at family events, though it happens less often now. She can't hide the irritation in her eyes when relatives praise the restoration of my home or ask about my gardening. But it no longer bothers me. I've learned that the best response to people who try to tear you down is to grow anyway. Bloom where you're planted, especially if they never believed you could. Recently, the Preservation Board asked me to join their committee. "We need more members who understand the value of preserving our neighborhood's character," they said. I accepted, knowing Victoria would get a kick out of the irony when she found out. On quiet evenings, I sit on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues that never would have passed the approval of Victoria's modern redesign. I reflect on how close I came to losing this place, how her arrogance and my patience led to the perfect outcome. The house now stands as a testament to something far greater than sibling rivalry or real estate. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we desire most don't come to us through force or manipulation, but through understanding and valuing what they truly are. Victoria may have her sleek condo with stunning views and a prestigious address, but I have something much more valuable. A home that reflects who I am, a place where my dreams have taken root and flourished, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that for once, doing things the right way was its own reward. As for my parents, they've started to come around, though they'll never fully admit that Victoria was wrong. And that's fine. I've learned that validation doesn't have to come from the people who couldn't see your worth in the first place. Sometimes it comes from proving them wrong by simply being true to who you are.